And this. Hello everyone, welcome back. Let's a Comics Kwentuhan. For today's episode, we have a legendary creator, one of yung mga members of the Alamat Comics group, creator of Angel Ace, now a freelance illustrator, storyboard artist, Sir Marco Dimaano. Hello, sir. Hello.
John.
Thank you for sparing yung time to talk to us.
No problem. Medyo maraming time.
Actually, nahihiya nga akong I approach kayo, yung group nyo actually.
Well, hindi naman. Okay lang. We're very approach. I guess we might. Sino ba naman kami? I mean, old fogies.
No.
Old farts.
Pero these are the people, one of yung mga influences when I was starting out as a creator then. Angel Ace has been one of my parang books that I look up to before I started my own comic books.
I should have found one of the copies. Kaya lang i-flash.
Me too. That's on my part. Hindi na ako nakapaghalungkat kanina. Pero yeah, I have all your books.
Well, ako, kasi really, well, whatever. I mean, the books, I have copies here somewhere. I at least have one copy of each, I think. Syempre, to have, kasi, posterity. Memories. Probably
So,
the best. The only thing.
For our viewers na hindi masyado familiar with your work, you might want to introduce yourself better.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do I say this? My name is excuse me, Marco Dimaano. So I'm known primarily in the field of local Filipino comics as the manga guy. Kasi ako yung one of the, I don't know if I was the first, one of the earlier ones who actually used the manga style. I don't consider it totally manga. I think it was more manga inspired. Kasi I did not have the expertise at the time to actually copy any actual manga artist style as you would usually expect. And what happened after. Kasi after, marami mga artists na talagang as in, you wouldn't know that they are not Japanese artists. I mean, they're really taking the style of their own. So I was mostly, I started off really using the conventions like the teardrops, the veins and the stuff, the SD type characters, you know. And at the time, I think I was one of the very few, or maybe the only one who was using the manga style at the time. So that gave me a bit of a niche. And so my work at the time, and actually for the one which I was most known for, is Angel Ace, and which I released a couple of times because I tried to revise it after the first time. And that was primarily what I released. And after that, I released an anthology spin-off book called KIA, which is also a manga style, and it was an anthology, and it used brought together many local indie comic book artists to contribute, one of which is Mr. John Zamar. I also joined many other projects of local comics, such as Siglo, Alamat Comics, depending on stuff. There was Isaw at Iba Pa. There was also an anthology by Mike Simbulan. Siglo Passion, Siglo... what was the second one? Siglo something. Anyway, yun. And,
the first and second one.
Yeah. And one of my later projects was I worked with Mangaholics. Yes, we did Ninja Girl Co. with Chris Season.
Yes.
Amazing art of Chris Season. Talagang sobrang ganda.
That's actually one of my favorite titles sa Mangaholics.
Ah,
It was
well,
part ng later part, but it was one of my favorites.
yeah, I mean, more on that later, hopefully. Ayun, yeah. Ninja Girl ko, and that's basically it. We joined various Comic Cons, conventions along the years. Though, as of recent years, mas more lay low, letting the new generation, and hindi na ako masyado active kasi nga, it's expensive to publish.
Yeah, it's very expensive to
And
publish.
kasi most of my work was, admittedly, they were mostly vanity projects, so they were self-published.
Mhm.
I did not go about finding publishers to publish my work. As in, I always self-published. So yeah, and I did all that in between work as an advertising creative. So that was during the 90s and the 2000s until mga several years ago, mga probably, I think at this point, probably 4 years na. I left the advertising, effectively retired. So, and here I am. Even before the COVID thing started, I was already working from home.
Mm.
And then suddenly, a couple of years in, everyone was working from home. So
Yeah.
it's weird. And here we are, still buhay pa naman. And currently, well, I don't want to tell the whole story here. Di tapos na tayo. Pero yeah, here.
So yeah, so that's yung actually, sir already, most of yung books that he worked on, nabanggit na ni sir. Pero let's start muna when you were, how you got into comics. Were you a big fan of comics, sir?
How was I? How did I get into comics? Kasi, yeah, I mean, I've always been a comic book reader from high school. High school, I always went to Comic Quest and Phil Bars, mainly sa Green Hills, kasi I studied in a school in the Mandaluyong area, so Lourdes School. So after class or after school, end of the day, I'd go to Green Hills, and there's I guess a Phil Bars. It was Phil Bars, and there was Comic Quest, and I just went there, and naabutan ko yung 25 pesos yata, 22.50 ang isang comic.
Mm-hmm.
22 pesos and 50 centavos. Yun. So I bought X-Men. I think it's basically just X-Men. Sila talaga yung gustuhan ko. And,
Yeah.
Yun.
X-Men talaga naman yung king before.
Yeah, the king. Tapos it was just later on when when I was in high school, talagang pahirapan pa yung comics because of course, during high school, ang pera mo lang is your baon.
Yeah.
Or whatever you can scrounge from your allowance, makupit mo sa pitaka. You couldn't really afford a lot. Siyempre, pupunta ka sa Comic Quest, si Mr. Red Simbulan, sobrang damot sa gusto mo tingnan, sir, patingin naman nung Dungeons and Dragons book. Hindi ba bitawan papakita lang. Mr. Red Simbulan, I became one of your biggest customers. But even if you were incredibly not friendly. Red Simbulan of Comic Quest. Buti your son was a lot friendlier. Anyway, hinanakit tapos yun, I think more of my comic interests bloomed when I was actually working na. So you have disposable income. Because
comics is really expensive. If you think about it, it is really expensive.
It is a fickle mistress. So kung kung may shota ka, mahirap. Wala shota. I have money to burn. So
and comics is like a rabbit hole. If you don't just get one title,
Yeah,
It's impossible to just get one title.
I think yeah. Kasi at a certain point, kasi you just start off with X-Men. And then I think bigla nangyari yung Mutant Massacre.
Yeah.
And then you had to like get all
They
the
do yung
issues.
events
Oo,
and then
yung
you have
mga,
to
yung
like
mga crossover. So you have to like collect yung X Factor. You have to collect yung Power Pack. Yung
and it would be your entry point to collect that title as well.
Yeah. So, yun. Tapos, yun. So somewhere along the way, I discovered manga.
Yeah.
I think kasama din with anime because syempre you go to rent video rental places, tas back room may mga catalog sila of anime. So you discover anime, tas yung pala may manga, kasi you hear na mas maganda manga is better than anime. Manga has all the stuff na censored or whatever. So you tried it out and I discovered nga manga. My main manga at the time was Oh My Goddess and Gunsmith Cats.
Gunsmith Cats.
So yun talaga and medyo namulat yung mata dun sa illustration style nila because it was so different from US comics.
Yes.
Instead of splash pages na admittedly very static, very regular na ordinary angles, wala masyado yung parang talking heads or yung mga usual splash pages na may mga susuntukan. You have these very dynamic panels na continuous or mga angles na yung camera kung saan ang gagaling. You have speed lines which seem to, it makes the panels seem to have movement. And the characters were very expressive. At yung action, yun yung pinaka nakuha ko eh. The action was so, kinetic.
Yeah. I think it's mostly because of the pace then of the storytelling.
The detail.
The detail. Parang mas loose yung pacing nila kesa sa Western because the Westerns like monthly, di ba? Monthly yung weight mo. Pero si manga was like sort of like ours na may mas regular like a weekly because the jumps are weekly. So parang yung shorter time, ganun sila mag-pace ng kwento nila. Mas mabilis. Kahit mas mahaba yung pages, mas mabilis.
Yeah. Well, kasi naman, di ba, mangas are released in like huge volumes.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Kasi I don't know naman because you could, at the time, I could only get yung issues na were released by Dark Horse.
Yeah, yun nga. I was gonna ask you, sir, kasi di ba, so hard to find manga during the time.
Yeah. Yun nga, medyo mahirap talaga. Kasi yun nga, you had to wait for the issues from Dark Horse. Kasi you could try yung mga, but they were in Japanese. Yung mga talagang mga books. So, I mean, there are places to find them. Pero what you found them, yun nga, pagtingin mo, they're all in Japanese. So, the only value you could get was the art.
The art.
Yun nga. I think one time nga, I went to, because of work, it's either vacation or parang a company paid trip, or it was because of work. I went to either Hong Kong or I think it was Hong Kong. And yun nga, sa mga kalye-kalye, yun nga, yung mga manga na binibenta. There was a manga of, there was a book of 3x3 eyes, 3x3 eyes. That became totally, kasi galing ng fight scene. And at the time, doon ko lang nakikita yan kasi sa mga US comics, nakikita mo lang, suntok, Power Ray. Ito talagang parang fighting game na yun nga, you see the actual tumbles, cartwheels, punches na tapos yung mga blocks and everything. Kaya mas interesting sa mata. And yun nga, I didn't know what was going on. Kasi nga, I did not speak Japanese or Chinese or whatever. You just bought them just to look at the pictures. But they helped. Yeah, ganun. Pero yun nga, what was the question? How I got comics? Yun nga, after yun, because it was work na, eventually, I wanted to do my own. Kasi nga, so inspired and gusto ko yung gawin yung ano. So I thought, may naisip ka na story, Angel Ace. A lot of it was, if you can see nga, the cover image of Angel Ace is the character of Angel is above, and the character of her love interest / the guy is below, looking down, looking up, looking down. Parang that is kind of influenced by Oh My Goddess. Though I don't remember if there was ever a visual of Oh My Goddess na ganun eh.
Parang wala.
Wala naman eh. Parang
wala.
it's just a feeling.
It's just a feeling, yeah.
Feeling
Pero yun nga, actually when I saw yung image na yan, was with Ponyo. But your work was nauna. Doon.
I think, yeah. I think, no, it was, correction, it was not, well, it was of course Oh My Goddess, but it was more of the character of Angel herself. A lot of her was inspired by Nausicaa. Valley of the Wind.
Valley of the Wind, yeah. Okay.
So yun, basically just took away the glider. So she doesn't need the glider. But you have the goggles, you have the full body suit.
Oh yeah, oo nga.
And well, syempre from there, she turned into this character nga, an aviator or an ace. Of course, Angel Ace, aviator. So she has a scarf, she has and everything. And yun, from there, yun nga, just that, it started with that image. With just that image of the character. And from there, you just had to like build the story around her. So it was yun.
So you drew that image first?
Yeah, I think. The original comic, which was not released, I think, or that was what was used for the original issues that were released. So yung parang ganun. It was very rough, and syempre, it was a first try. And of course, local reviewers said so. But somehow people still liked it, and whatever. Kasi comics is comics. You don't have to be super. Even my art teacher sa fine arts, I am from UP, College of Fine Arts, said that in comics are comics. You don't really have to be that correct all the time. And you see it nga ngayon eh, yung mga current na DC comic, pangit ang art. Whatever. Yeah. And I even, yun. And even before releasing or trying for Angel, I tried actually to get into local comics companies. Because my dad knew someone sa Atlas Publications. So I actually went there and I tried out to do inking. They actually gave me a page to do. Did not do well. and buti na rin because I would not see myself na nagtrabahong kabayo na doing panels for like 40 pesos a page or something, whatever. Yeah. And that turned me off to that right away. So, mas gusto ko lang gumawa ng sarili ko. So I just did it on my own. And luck would have it, a relative of mine, my brother-in-law was a businessman, and he liked my comic so much that he actually helped publish it. He footed the bill to publish it.
This was the first two. First two that was Western comic size.
Western, yeah.
The 6.875 by 10.25.
Yeah. That was the larger.
The original one. The original.
Yes. The red and blue books
covers. Yes.
Yeah. So we're very inexperienced, of course, in publishing or publishing. It's not really publishing, just printing the books.
Imprinting the work, yeah.
Kasi, I mean, I guess we went through the motions of trying to yung get what do you call patent ba yan or the
Copyrighted.
yeah para to make sure it's mine, whatever. And then we had to have the comics printed, ganon. And of course, we got as cheap a printer as possible.
Yeah.
who in the end who actually did not pull through totally kasi a lot of issues were defective in the sense na some issues were like laminated covers, yung mukhang maganda, and some were not.
What?
Yeah, so like we had a run of like supposedly 1,000 copies per episode of issue, and like several hundred were like not laminated the covers. And
This was what year, sir?
heck, I guess it was late 90s.
Late 90s.
We'll just have to check na lang yung mga
Yung mga copies. Yes.
yung mga copies. Late 90s. Kasi I don't want to say my age. Pero syempre, graduate ko ng mid-90s. So I was working, I did not take a break naman. After graduation, trabaho na agad. And in the 13 years of advertising, along the way, yun nga, doon yung Komiks. Because that was the time when I actually had money to use. Tapos yun. And thankfully, we had help or the help of Comic Quest almost exclusively to distribute the comics. And yun, the first couple of issues were released. A lot of people read them naman, not enough to break even, but at that point, I didn't really care.
You just wanted it out.
Yeah, you just wanted it out. I mean, for me talaga, it was never really, you went into it never really caring. You don't care. As in, it was never...
Just wanted to make comics talaga. You
Yes.
just wanted...
That is why I am not a business person. Parang, that's the problem with me. Kasi I'm a creative totally through and through. I never found the partner in the same way that some of our local comic people are writers who always want to find their artist. I'm the artist writer who never found my business partner.
But a lot of creators are like that naman, sir.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's in my estimation lang. For example, kayo! I mean, you are able to produce your comics, or you have your colored comics, you have your issues, you have even just ashcans. In conventions, I see all these ashcans na ang dami, or they are even actually produced. They're published and stuff. These people are able to find publishers.
Yeah. I think yung climate right now with comics is much better than it was before, since you have all this.
That was even during the Comic Cons, which I was able to participate
Yeah,
in.
but the early Comic Cons, tayo lang din yun, sir.
Oh yeah. Pero even later, I mean, the ones where I did not participate in at all na. Yung just the ones I just went to Osyoso.
Yeah.
You see all these people na and I mean, there's so the comic conventions in Pasig, di ba?
Yes, sa Bayanihan Center.
Yeah, the Bayanihan Center. I went there, I think, at least 2 or 3 times. Every time, di ba? Dami. I mean, the convention center is packed. You can go there with 5,000 pesos.
And it won't be enough.
Ubus yun. And you'd have a bag full of everything. But then again, meron din mga laruan at saka baka doon maubos. Pero, I mean, I think me and a lot of my fellow or mga peers would go there just to look for indies
Mm.
and to shop for them. And I have a lot in here na. Pero yun nga, yun. That was, yun. Yeah. I think after the original run of Angel Ace, I felt na after a couple of years, I don't know, I forgot na how long. Basta my art progressed a lot better. So I re-released kung ano I re-released Angel Ace in a new format, a new
Digest format.
retelling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
digest format.
My thinking was the original series was like the parang as anime. Di ba? Yung there's always the original series and then you have your OVE. Yung parang ganun.
But in between, before you released yung digest size, there were like projects in between projects dun. I remember a digest size version din na alamat ng flipbook.
Flipbook. Yeah.
It was before, di ba? That was before
yeah.
the four issue series.
Nakalimutan ko na. Yun yung ano eh. I think that was with with
Pugad
Indigo
Baboy
Valley.
or something.
Ah?
Was it back to back with a Pugad Baboy adventure?
I don't think it was.
I remember.
It
or
was with,
Indigo Valley.
It was with Indigo Valley.
Yeah, Indigo Valley.
Yeah, because at the time I was working with the Indigo Valley people, with Eric Santos and Tony Buku.
How did you get involved with Alamat?
Alamat. I don't know. Yeah, because they were the local comics group. I mean, Budget was really the spokesperson, and I forget na how we actually met. Somehow, maybe it was through CopyQuest then, or maybe it was through just trading comics and just complimenting each other, just meeting. And eventually I became part of the Robinson's Galleria group. Because for the longest time, for several years after I joined Alamat would always meet at Cyber Cafe in Robinson's Galleria. I think it was always on a Saturday or on weekends, and the creators would meet there in Cyber Cafe. We would basically take over the cafe. This poor place, talagang, and we'd stay there for the entire afternoon. And it was basically heaven for a creator, because you'd be there with people who knew or who thought like you, in the sense that you all wanted to tell stories, you all had stories, you all thought on the same way, and you just had fun with it. I mean, we stayed there, we just talked about stories, we'd show off stuff, we'd trade news, ganun, and whatever, eat French
Just
fries.
basically parang precursor to what Comic-Con would be.
Well, it was more of a barkada at that point.
It's a gathering of
Yes.
creators.
I mean, wala
It's a
pang mga
gathering
contact
of
at that point.
creators.
Yeah. And I mean, things started there, and it was a confluence of creators, and from there stuff would happen. Kasi at the time, aside from Alamat, there were other groups. Syempre, they were the group of kila I forget what they're called. I mean, there were so many comic groups at the time. The ones who did yung parang sci-fi. Ano ba yun? It was a sci-fi group. Ano na?
Archon, sir?
Yes. Well, that was one of it.
Archon, there was Mere Mortals, there was yung group ni na Gilbert.
Yun, Gilbert Ponsanto.
Yes.
Their group. They have their parang
Exodus.
Oh, yun, the Exodus. Yung pa. Exodus. Lots of syempre, they were, of course, there were rivalries, there was competition, there was always comparison of art, ganon, syempre. And of course, syempre, yung always the thesis of grammar, ganon, syempre.
Yeah.
It's always that parang cliche, I mean, the ones who could write, would joke about the comics of which were done by the more artsy types. Na, kahit naman yung ganyan yung grammar.
Yeah.
And the ones who did the grammar naman, pangit naman ang art. So, I imagine the ones who did yung mas makamay, ang papangit naman ang art yan. Ano ba yan? Masyadong surrealistic comics. Pangit.
I guess that's yung trade-off with losing an established formal na setting like in industry, parang there would be a group without an editor, there would be a group na without really proper art directors.
I mean, I think yung group nila Gilbert or the Exodus people or some of the groups actually had more comic backgrounds. I think they came from
they came from the industry talaga. They came from the local industry.
Kaya they came with expertise. While on the other hand, you had these people who did not come from comics background, just learned art on their own or had other sources for their art. Self-taught, ganun. And because of that, I mean, it's probably a microcosm of the Philippines. Mga tribo-tribo.
Until now naman, there's like factionism pa rin.
That continued throughout naman . I mean, early on, it was Alamat and the various groups within Alamat because there were so many groups.
I think, marami ring micro groups.
Studios.
Studios, yes.
I mean, there was yung group ng Pinoys. Di ba? Yung mga Pinoys. And then you had Carver House.
Yes.
Which is our friend, Carlo Vergara.
Kestrel.
Yes, Kestrel came very much later.
Later na. But it's
later.
Early 2000s onward, mid 2000s.
Much later. And of course, the core group of Alamat, I think, which was Budget.
Sir Budget's group.
Yeah, with his group, they had in their comics, in Flying Phantom, Myth Class. No. Myth Class was totally Arnold Are. I think Budget's was Batch 72.
Yes.
And so may other stuff. And you had David
I was sobrang fascinated ako with that era of self-publishing. Kasi nobody really archived that era.
Di ba? I mean...
I'm looking for stuff. And most of yung mga articles that Sir Budget put up on his blog site before, maraming dead links na.
Well, of course. Kasi napakatagal na kasi.
Napakatagal. But it was very interesting kasi it was yung start of self-publishing. It was the start of self-publishing.
As in, at the time, it was all trailblazing kasi talaga no one knew what the hell they were doing. Talaga did not know shit. And we were all in black and white.
Of course, si Sir Jerry was also part of that. So
Yeah. Well, Jerry.
In Lacan, as in yung legendary book na never came out.
The legendary, yung Lacan. You always hear about it, pero wala naman
but you'll never see it because it never came out.
That was also the time. Yun nga yung aside from Lacan, di ba? It was Will Sportacio. He would come from heaven. Yung parang yung bababa siya, minsan yung bibindusyonan yung meron akong project.
One thing na parang I kind of regret na walang nangyari is he put together like a superstar studio. Diba? He put together a superstar studio made up of like who's who that would do books outside the Philippines. But they never did a local project.
Well, he probably knew na mahirap ang local.
Well, but diba,
for him, he get stuff, he get local talent, and
then he placed them
of
sa
course, he's a
labas.
talent scout probably to use.
Pero like you guys were like local guys who wanted to make comics, and you found a way to produce your local comic. Diba?
That was the challenge nga because yun nga trying to find a market for
Mm.
local comics because at the time nga, yun nga even before I mean the local comic scene was yung mga funny comics.
Yeah.
There were
But
the
yun nga, it was kind of like parang disappointing. I was hoping that they did something similar with like Stone. They did something with Stone, which feels like a local product, but it's not because it's still Image. But
yes.
out of everyone that were doing comics then, they would have the most resource to do something locally bigger, di ba?
But of course, they would not invest locally because
Yeah, yeah.
there's no market.
I think just it's one of the disappointments.
Yeah. That is it. Yeah, di ba? Yung Stone nga, they even had this in music single.
Yeah, they did
Music,
have
may
an
soundtrack pa eh.
di ba?
Stone.
They had a tour, an
Yes.
album launch.
Yes. Di ba? Yung mga ganun na laki, wala kaming ganun. Kasi nga, because syempre, he could do that because it was Portasio, of course. He has a name talaga and he's
Yeah, and
from the US and
he had
everything.
clout.
Kaya talagang
Diba?
he can do that. And of course, business-wise, yun na talaga. I don't know whatever happened na to Stone kasi
Well, or recently I've seen like new promo materials. I hope he's doing something new and stuff.
he's always doing something, I'm sure. I mean, and then there was stuff like do you remember Taekwondogs?
Yeah, Taekwondo Dogs, yung
Yun.
source book. They released a source book.
Yes, a source book. Di ba? Yun ang legendary. As in, for the longest time, that we would look at it and we would be amazed at it.
I think he had funding, right? Foreign funding.
Yeah. He had investors, I think.
Uh,
And who eventually were like...
it was full color, diba? The source book was full color. It felt like an Image book.
I mean, glossy paper.
Glossy paper, full color.
But I mean, a lot of it was like, I mean, just let's call a spade a spade. The art is nowhere near even art of the art of the real comic books. Like, even though he did have comic book artists on it, I mean, and
if you would look dun sa credits, na you would like see comic book artists that are working right now.
They're really.
But I guess when they were doing it, they were like, yun yung first comic project nila.
Yeah, and na bighani sila kasi nga it looked great. He pitched this. I think it was on the heels of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course, Thundercats kasi di ba? Taekwondogs. So it's
anthropomorphic.
Well, furries. Ngayon, furries na yun. Fur babies, whatever. So yun. And it was a wonder nung nakita mo yung book na yun, yung source book. Kasi syempre amazing. It made for really entertaining reading. Kasi you never saw anything like it.
Yeah, and yun nga, it would make you wonder that how would the comic book look like if it ever came.
Yeah. And yun nga, nothing ever came of it, sadly. I think they wanted naman kasi to make it a franchise. So a comic book, animated series, games, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was more geared for merchandising. Talaga.
Yeah, it was. I think they're more merchandisers than anything else. But who knows? I mean, you can't really say. I mean, it was something.
But it's stories like this that make yung time na yun really fascinating. And I wish somebody would like do a book about it.
Who knows? Baka ma-interview mo dito si Noel Lim.
Sex-Men.
Sex-Men. Yung mga ganun, di ba? Stuff like that. I mean, Paul Medina. Whatever. Yun. So, it was in that era of all these that it was really a time talaga to be a comic book artist kasi anything goes. Parang medyo Wild West ka. And the later, when we actually released na our comics, it was at that time na talagang everyone was releasing the comics. And we had our box in Comic West. our own little stand there with the whatever was released at the time would be displayed.
Hmm. As in, Comic
Kaya,
West was the place to look
that was the
for
place.
local talaga. Yeah. Yung
And
ano,
they
yung
only
nasa taas ng Mega Mall.
yes,
Yung katabi
it's
ng
a
National.
corner. Atop the skating rink, di ba?
Atop the skating rink.
And
Yung
even
Mizuno
though,
right now.
yeah, well, yeah. Wala na sila, di ba? They closed.
I think somebody bought them and they're still ongoing pa sa
They're
Mega
still
Mall.
there ba?
Yes,
Kasi
I think
nagbabay
so.
na I don't know. I mean, I haven't
They did a goodbye post and then I heard that somebody bought them and they will be continuing the operation.
Okay.
But I haven't been out, so I don't
Yeah. I wouldn't know. I haven't talked to Mike. But yun nga, if someone bought it, probably he's not there. But yun, even in the strength of like 3 branches, actually just one branch, which is Comic Quest in Mega Mall, we were okay kasi Comic Quest Mega Mall was like the nexus of all comics.
Yes,
kasi Mega Mall, I mean, it was...
And they were like promoting the locals. They have those big posters na nakalagay dun sa pasad.
And that was...
and they had yung standee ni Arnold.
That was really us talaga. We have, prior to release, talagang pinag-iisipan na, yes, let's print a poster, ganun, everything. Kung may alam sa
I remember si Sir Jason Banico's Bylance.
Bylance, yun. His many books with Bylance, yung Cyforce. Yeah, I mean, Jason is one of the more prolific talaga na he really wants to tell stories. Hinihirapan lang siya, of course, because he's more a writer. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this is only possible because of the support of Mike Sigmulan, because he believed in local comics. Kaya a lot of local comics owes Mike Sigmulan talaga and Comic Quest.
I agree, yes.
Yeah. Well, our group at least. I know other groups were in CCQ or other places.
CCHQ, yes.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Phil Bars.
Phil Bars during that time was more geared towards magazines na.
Yeah. At the time,
at that time.
I think they were more into comics when I was much younger.
But during the late 90s, if I remember correctly, most of their stuff were like retail magazines, mostly magazines.
And
they just rebranded like
naging book stand na sila
late 2010s when they got bought out by another big group. Then they returned to their roots as comic books.
Too late. I don't know. Yun. Tapos, I think after that, I mean, during the time when we were releasing comics na, dyan pumasok yung Culture Crash.
Yes, 2000.
Yes, and at that time, yun yung that's where a bit of a rivalry stood. Because Culture Crash came in, colored comics, and they had really good art. As in, manga style for the most part. And really good art. And unlike before, they had decent writing then. So basically, they put together stuff that the previous groups did not have. It was an evolution at the time. And they sold well then. So gano'n. Yun naman yung I know eventually I met with James Palabay.
Yes.
And I don't remember if I actually did stuff for them. Not really. But you
got featured, I think, in one of their magazines.
Yeah. I did I interacted with them for a while. And I became a fan of Culture Crash up until the time when they suddenly disappeared.
Yes. The sudden disappearance in 2004.
Yun yung weirdest thing, Parang fan ka na ni Tagailog, ni Cat's Trail, tapos biglang, where? Hihintay mo.
But we had like a glut ng anthologies like that were doing well and then they suddenly disappear.
Yeah.
Culture Crash did that. Mangaholics did that.
Mangaholics. Well, yeah. That came later pa, di ba?
they never really crossed paths. As in, when Culture Crash vanished, after a couple of years came Mangaholics.
Mangaholics, yeah. And Mangaholics rin was another step up from Culture Crash.
Yes.
In the sense na they had me. They were like Culture Crash na din. And at there, I guess
they were pushing more the digital aspect of
yes
of creating comics. Yes.
I think before that, in between that, I met with the people who did yung Questor.
Yeah, Questor.
And
Culture Crash and Questor actually came out the same time.
They came from the same I think during in the Questor magazine I actually did stuff it was there where I first worked with Chris Season.
Yeah.
And we did and he was doing the Voltes 5 reboot.
Oh, he was doing it?
Yes, Camp Big Falcon.
Camp Big 5.
Oh, yun. And that was really good. The art there, I mean, he still, at the time, hindi pa rin siya, you knew that Chris was really good there, yung art niya doon. But you didn't know he was that good until I saw his work in Ninja Girl Ko.
but you would get an inkling that Chris was really good. He was like, he won the first event ng Culture Crash.
Yeah,
he won second place. He won second place. And then he did some stuff for Gilbert. And then he did stuff for Questor. Then he did stuff for Mangaholics. And now he's like doing international stuff.
Yeah. He's with Gunship.
Gunship. They're
Gunship
basically
Revolution.
The core of Mangaholics, and they rebranded themselves.
Yeah. I mean, they had to fix some issues.
Yeah.
But they're doing very, very well.
Yeah, they do very well. I think they're working for Hasbro. They're working for all these great brands.
They have really, I guess they really have good business-minded management. And they have really good artists.
Yes, I think that's what they did talaga. They built a solid stable of artists talaga. World class.
And they're
continue
looking for. I think when I tried for Questor, I was asked to submit various storylines. Just storylines like a paragraph. I sent that in kay Miss Editor. I
Bambi?
can't recall his name.
Anyway, Bambi?
Sino?
Si Bambi?
Yes, Bambi Eloriaga.
Yeah.
I sent them storylines and they took the best or what they wanted to use and they showed them to their artists and they had them pick kung anong gusto nila. And for some reason, Chris chose Ninja Girl or something. And I think I also did a comic for them. I don't know if it was actually released. It was a precursor to Ninja Girl Ko. It was the Pink Ninja.
That was I have to look at my stats.
I don't know. I don't think it was released. Kasi during the time, it was supposed to be released as parang an insert comic. And it was actually a full issue story. So basically, it was a cross-dressing ninja. It was called Kunoichi Boy.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You released that as
it was.
You released that as an indie.
Yun nga. Kunoichi Boy.
Kunoichi Boy.
Kunoichi Boy. I actually wanted to do that. That was one of the non-Angel Ace. Aside from Ninja Girl Ko, it was.
Yeah, I have a copy of that somewhere. I just have to look for it.
Kunoichi Boy. Just do that. That's actually pretty fun. Whatever. This is one of the one of my attempts to break away from just doing Angel Ace. So yeah. With Mangaholics, I did Ninja Girl Ko, which was one of the series.
One of the series, yeah.
So I think Mangaholics released 10 issues or something. 9, 10?
Did they? I don't think they reached 10.
Basta several.
Several. I think 8. And Ninja Girl Ko came out around issue 3, issue 4.
Yeah, parang di naman every issue parang every other issue or something. Ayun. Sayang hindi na, I don't think natapos We were because of course like Culture Crash naputol.
Yeah. But do you have like an arc of Ninja Girl Ko that was finished? That could be released? That could be.
Here's the thing. After the original run of Mangaholics, it was during a Comic Con, diba? We released a Ninja Girl Ko Ashcan. Special issue. I think a lot of people have that. I hope you have that. It was,
I think I do.
Yun nga, it once again features yung art ni Chris, which is really, really good. Ganda, shit. And he had that. When he showed me that, it was like Christmas. Every time I see Chris's pages, parang Christmas. Because it's so good. Anyway, we when we did that Ashcan, we wanted to do more. So I actually have a full script of a full Ninja Girl Ko series. And we were supposed to do it on Kickstarter.
Oh.
And it was a remake in the sense that because we didn't want to redo just the Mangaholic story. We wanted a retelling na mas maganda and mas may world building. So basically we have this Ninja Girl Co would be set in the Philippines na medyo it kind of parang it's very similar to sa Big Hero 6. Yung combination yung melding of worlds. So you basically have yeah, parang ganon. But basically it's Japan and Philippines.
And Japan and Manila. So
yeah. So it's like what if the Philippines was not after the war.
It continued being occupied by the Japanese.
Parang instead of World War II happening and the Japanese actually came to the aid of the Philippines after a very big cataclysm.
Yung propaganda nila of yung greater Asian community thing was true.
Yes. So you actually did that. So ang nangyari is you have a Philippines that was rebuilt.
It's a greater co-prosperity sphere.
Parang gano'n, basically. So it's MechWarrior, Battletech na the code is combined on Earth. Pero yun nga, so you have a Philippine setting na parang a melding of Japan and
so Philippine culture and Japanese meets Japanese culture.
So the story was na because of the cultural exchanges, nagkaroon ng occupation sa Pilipinas na mga katulong at mga yaya na trained as ninja. So they were called Kunoichi Boy. So yun. So basically, well-to-do families would have these ninja-trained.
So they would have like an assassin, a trained assassin, a disguised assassin,
as household helpers.
As household helpers.
So basically, yun yung setting. So you have these and enter the character of Ninja Girl Ko, of Michiko, and she's actually not one of these ninja yayas. She's actually a full ninja. but she's cast in this role. So may pagka fish out of water pa rin and you have that story and you have political stuff and
whatever happens, sure. It's a really interesting book that could
we have
what ifs.
We have a full script.
You just need an artist. Na
we have an artist.
Chris.
We had the best artist. We had Chris. We had the script. We had the plan to go into Kickstarter. But unfortunately, For some reason, they opted not to do Kickstarter, and instead we pitched it to a publisher who rejected it. He felt
Yeah.
there was no market for it. I don't know. Parang hindi niya ma-picture anyone would like a Philippine setting with Asia, whatever. And
It's fiction.
but ewan ko nga, I mean, at the time, probably ganon. Ngayon, in the sense nga, after films like Big Hero 6 or after whatever, I don't know, whatever. But since after that rejection, medyo nag-cool down na sila, and since then, we haven't met. So, I mean, we still have the script is there, and the art is always there. I mean, but Chris is always busy.
Yeah, Chris is
Can only do
busy,
it if
crazy
he,
busy right now.
yeah, and the way Chris works is he would need to like focus on it, and I don't know if he will ever be able to focus on it unless he takes a hiatus from his work. So anyway,
I mean, right now, if you like pitch it to uh, other initiatives right now, I mean, they would bounce on it. I mean, people are still clamoring for more of your work. I mean, recently, I've seen a lot of people looking for Angel Ace.
well, they've been very vocal on Facebook. Actually, sold a copy or two on Facebook just for yeah.
I mean, this pandemic actually made people look for older creator.
Wala magawa eh. Wala magawa, may pera, tapos may delivery. Actually, if I had a lot of stocks of the comics, I'd probably sell them, like that.
Do you have any plans of like putting it up online? Kasi for those people that are interested, but like there's no way for them to get copies anymore.
Just to put it online, yung ganon.
Yeah, just for people to be able to read it.
I mean, that's always been a possibility. Kasi nga, yun lang, it's just hard to like scan them and put them on. I mean, it's just a matter of scanning them, and putting them up on a website.
And actually, a publisher was actually asking me, one of the editors of a publisher was asking me of what titles from that era would be like great to republish. And I told them Angel Ace, because Angel Ace was finished, diba? Unlike some of yung titles then, Angel Ace was finished.
Actually, kasi in Angel Ace, I mean, where it ends in both issues, yun eh. It's like the Matrix eh. You don't have to tell stories after pa.
Yes.
You ended with that.
That's why I recommended it, because it's finished.
Yeah, more or less it's finished. It's just a matter of what happens next. Next? People were like,
you could always do more, but yung the story that you made for Angel Ace could stand alone na. Yes.
Yeah. Kaya nga, that's why okay naman ako with that. But I mean, I'd love to just have it online somewhere. Yun lang just how to do it.
I mean, the online platforms would really, really welcome you. I mean, there are a lot of online platforms.
I wish I had more high-res art to use. Kasi ngayon you'd have to scan the pages eh. Kasi at the time wala pa yung mga file, I mean, we had it. But they were,
so you have to scan
eh.
from your printed na. You don't have the originals anymore.
Oo, kasi I mean the originals, the files are with the printing houses and with the producers who did the stuff, and we are no longer in contact. Kaya hirap eh, and that's years ago eh. You can't really just call them up na, hey, so it's so. Yung mga JPEGs ng is number one.
We don't know whoever is watching this. They might have the file.
Whoever.
So if there's someone who knows who has the files, contact.
You have to post Angel Ace on the website for free, okay? Post it, sige. Happy. I mean, I just want. That's basically it, diba? As I said, never really important or priority ang money.
Mm.
It's really more of telling stories, and even just a few people. If you know that you've actually gotten your story to several people who actually love it and appreciate it, parang yun na yun eh. Of course, you want more. Kasi sayang naman yung ano eh.
Yung isa pang interesting na project that you did was KIA.
Yeah, yeah.
Kai, yeah. Yung focusing on yung villain of one of the villains
Villain.
sa story.
Villain Kuno.
Uh,
Anti-heroin.
and yun nga, natuwa ako kasi I never really realized that you like Mike Bunting, one of yung mas prolific creators ngayon, did the story there.
Yeah, there. Ang daming gumawa doon. Si Albert or Arnold.
Si Ilog had one then doon.
Yeah.
And tuwan-tuwa ako doon kasi it's like a local manga talaga. So yung size and everything.
Just different styles, and I had to look over to make sure that it was written decently, at least minimize any grammar, whatever. And the art, for the most part, okay naman. Different art styles. I used there were some more experimental artists, some really, really good ones like Jennison Lucero.
Yeah, Jennison.
Really good, diba? I didn't know Chris Season at the time. So he's basically he was the Chris Season at the time, because if you see Jennison's art, diba, it was something else.
Yes.
Grabe. And yun nga, and KIA, it's a story of Kai, who was the second lead / anti-heroine / villain of Angel Ace. She's actually my favorite character in the series. Kasi who doesn't want or like a ninja girl? And you can see naman ninja girls basically are my bread and butter. Kasi lumaki sa Ninja Scroll ito eh. Yun. And,
Ninja Scroll, yeah.
Basically, it was a guilty pleasure project, and actually, I think that's my most decently looking project, because it was an anthology. It looked nice, even if it was on newsprint. Because to
white newsprint. It was on white newsprint, yes.
Yeah, but it looked good. I mean, at least, and I think naman medyo matibay naman yung binding.
Yeah.
And it just
even it was kahit hindi siya like if I remember, hindi siya laminated yung cover.
Yeah, no. It was laminated naman yung cover. Okay naman. I don't remember. It wasn't totally laminated.
Yeah, it wasn't totally laminated.
But it was smooth. Hindi naman siya I think we only printed 500 copies.
What? Only 500?
Just sad.
So, do you have copies pa ng KIA?
Wala na.
Sayang.
Yun yung naubos. It's actually, it's actually out there.
I think KIA came out during nung mga salvo, nung mga conventions na.
Yes.
Recon and yung other conventions. Yes.
That's probably my most, yun yung compared to the Age of Ace book, yun yung talagang bumenta. I never felt it kasi syempre sales would come in unti-unti. I never really cared. Pero I think that was the one that sold most. So it's out there with people.
Pero I think right now, if you like republish in first 4, but you did Angel Ace again, di ba?
Yeah, I mean, Angel Ace again was like just the follow-up issue. Parang just the epilogue. And and just a precursor to KIA. Medyo may konting tease.
I think if you like republish yung 4-part series ng Angel Ace would really sell. Especially if the convention came back. I mean, it's like a disservice for a lot of creators that they have not read it.
Sad lang nga I don't have the files. Ganun din eh. It's the files are the files for those were with the producer, who we are no longer in working with. Kasi yun nga, the production of Injo Ace, the next series, was very problematic. Uh, so it's a bit
So you had
complicated.
someone produced it for you?
It was the group. It was part of the group. Unfortunately, it's a bit controversial within the group. Kasi this person whom we trusted turned out to be not trustworthy.
Oh.
Yun na lang masasabi ko.
Okay.
I don't think I need to go into it. But basically, problematic. And it almost endangered the entire thing. And several other projects.
Oh.
And it actually involved people physically going to a person's place and actually staking out his house.
It's kind of sad because
It was really sad.
these books deserve to be in print pa rin. And if yun lang yung problem that we do not have yung files because of a certain person.
I'd be okay with with someone kung masascan lang talaga yung pages and put it up somewhere or reprint whatever, or remaster whatever. I don't know. At this point, I don't know kung magagawa. I'd be okay with it. Probably not at this point kasi nga with the pandemic. Maybe after when things are more normalized, baka we can think about that. Pero yun nga, because sad lang na things
sad.
nangyari.
I mean,
Because
tama. Parang sayang. As in, sobrang sayang.
oh well, it's there. I mean, the issues are there. Yun lang nga, kasi nga, because we don't have the digital copies, the digital pages, what you have to work with are these admittedly low quality prints that you would have to scan and then parang like, generation loss It's like trying to record from audio tapes na mga luma na audio cassette tapes.
But it's quite easier than what I'm doing right now. See, several of my projects are like reclaiming old comic books, restoring old comics. And it's much more difficult to like take out color.
Well, of course.
And then, question na malamang madalas gustong malaman ng mga tao. Would you like do another comic book project right now?
Depends on the project. Depends on what I have to do. Kasi, syempre,
so you prefer to like write na lang? You don't wanna draw anymore?
Kasi ito, currently, I am drawing as my livelihood. Ang lagi kong principle kasi, I don't want to do what I'm doing for work, for fun.
As your pastime.
When I was in advertising, I did not draw because I was a writer actually. I was more copywriter than artist. So I drew for fun. And I thought for work. I mean, I was the writer who actually drew his own storyboards at the time. And ngayon, I actually draw for work. I don't want to think or I think for my pastime or for personal stuff na. I use my drawing talent to earn money because otherwise wala akong pambayad. Swerte nga ako nakakakuha pa mag-gig. Pero I am effectively retired right now from advertising. I don't think I can handle advertising at this point. Kasi I don't want to commute anymore.
Yeah.
Bahala na. Yun nga. Kasi at this point, I don't have the facilities for drawing comics. Because I don't have a desk or I haven't really drawn with an actual pencil or pen. Kasi digital yung work ko.
But yeah, you could always draw digitally then for comics.
It depends. I mean, maybe more of web.
But if like somebody, you can get someone as good as Chris or good as Jennison to do a project with you.
maybe as a writer, depende. Pero yun nga, I mean, anything is possible. Depende on what it is. Pero yun nga, I mean, depende nga kung maungkat dun sa utak. I mean, I don't want to close any doors. Pero, yun nga, I mean, at this point, well, let's see. Yeah, kasi there are a lot of younger people na mas may active ngayon. I want to see how they're doing stuff. Pero, yun nga, kung may story nga, I want to tell other stories. No people really want
Like you said, you have stories pa na in storage that can come out.
Any comic book creator na magsasabi na I have stories. Whatever. You have to. Kasi kailangan mo I'm sure a lot of other writers and comic creators that we've spoken to have tons of stories to tell. We all have. It's just a matter of how much do you want to tell them. At this point, hindi naman you have to be hungry.
Yeah.
At this point, I've tasted
Yeah.
I've tasted having people come up to me and say that they were inspired or I've seen your stuff, parang tuwa-tuwa ako. Or currently, because I maintain a YouTube channel and I do videos and I have people every day saying, I watch your videos, it gets me through the day. Yung ganon. And that's enough for me. Parang ganon.
Ngayon, subscribe kayo kay Sir Marco.
Very niche. Very niche.
Well, this channel is also very niche. Most of the people who watch this are like people who I know then.
Depende. Pero I mean, yun nga, I didn't know about the channel until lately nga. Parang, of course, it just reflects how small really the comic book community is in the Philippines. We are really niche. Yun na mahirap eh. We're not like Japan that has a...
Yeah,
because they have a manga.
We do not have an industry. This is just like a community of hobbyists that do comics.
The sad part is yun nga, people don't read locally as much. Buti pa nga years ago when we were younger or a couple of decades ago, there were actually comics on stands.
Yes. And it was part talaga of our life.
They came every week.
Yeah. In comics is like, even if you don't like buy comics, somebody in your household would buy some and there would be comics in your house.
Yeah.
Kasi totally nawala lang talaga.
Yeah. Anong bata ko, I collected funny comics. Mga 125 1 peso 25 pesos per episode issue. Yung mga
and yun nga, we would have like creators that I talked to na they would say that they got into comics because they just found comics sa bahay nila.
Yeah.
They did not actively sought it out. Kasi nandun lang talaga.
you just find it. Pero yun nga, ang sad sa atin nga, we never had that big industry kasi nga, it never grew from the newspaper.
I mean, the sad thing is that it disappeared. I mean, it disappeared. It's not that we did not have it, as in we had it. It just did not evolve. We did. Kasi whatever is happening right now with Marvel and DC and the Japanese and the Koreans having their comics transferred into different platforms, we have been doing that since the 50s. Since most of our pop culture are like comic book novels that are translated into other media.
I think ngayon it's more of mas marami na locally mga reprints of novels eh.
Yes.
It's more novels. So diba, people are reading novels.
Magkatabi yan eh, yung romance novels and comics. The romance novels stayed, but our comics disappeared.
Comics are disappearing. And it's easier, I guess, for some writer to just churn out mga romance novela, horror novela, mga short stories, and just have someone draw K-pop or Japanese pop or manga-esque cover.
Covers, yes. And
Yun yun.
but that just proves that there is a market that reads because the novels
Just
have
not comics.
but the novels have market. Have
Uh,
a reading market.
I
So
I assume
comics,
they have a market.
diba? If comics is still mass produced today, I'm sure it will still sell.
Yun, hmm. Yun nga.
But we'll never know kasi
Yun
wala
nga.
tayong
Kasi
ganun.
once again, someone has to like take that. You have, it's that thing nga na budget always says, parang, you just need to have this sudden person come in with this
Yeah,
billion pesos.
with like very deep pockets that
and say, oh, I will have your stories, kid. Here's 5
but the
million
problem is
pesos.
we have to like reestablish the infrastructure of the distribution
Sky's the
nationwide.
limit.
Diba? Parang ang dami pa rin kailangang ayusin.
Ayun nga.
It's not just the books. Kasi I'm sure the books can be produced, but can it be like delivered sa doorsteps of those who would want to read it? Yun yung mahirap eh. Yung distribution part and marketing part. And then yung awareness then that it exists.
Yeah, we have artists, we have writers, we have the stories. Yun nga, it's the person who will fund these things. The stories that will sell them.
And we have lots of initiative right now na parang gusto na nilang i-curtail na talo na lang natin yung local market since parang wala namang gusto dito. Let's just market it abroad.
Ayun nga. These are the hurdles. Pero maybe eventually may makaka-break yan.
Yeah, I'm sure. As in malapit na. I feel it's very near that meron tayong breakthrough something. Budgets and Kadjo's work parang opened a lot of doors. A lot of people are looking in, may mga content creators tayo that are doing comics because of what Trece did.
Yeah, and that's really a breakthrough, Trece.
Yes.
Because talaga first time ever na may Filipino, really a wholly Filipino property has gotten that much acclaim.
Yeah, and it did not came from a big publisher. It started out as yung a photocopied book that found a publisher.
Trece was really a grassroots.
Grassroots.
Okay, it started really from the bottom and worked its way up, which is really, that in itself is a story. And galing yan talaga. And you have to credit talaga Budget and Kadjo for really staying with it throughout. And they found their niche there. At
hopefully, a lot more. I mean, one or more titles that would do that would really like show somebody with big pockets na it's good to invest.
Yeah. But yun nga, I mean, with Trece's success, probably, it might have opened doors. Buti din talaga that Netflix did not, I guess, they did not scrimp too much. Yeah. That at least the series, I haven't watched the entire series yet pa. I don't really watch too much these days. But I've seen a couple of episodes and they look naman maganda.
Yeah, it looked good.
The art is really good.
Oh.
The animation is not the best. It's not anime pa rin. But it's really good.
Oh, it's
good
really
art.
good. Mm.
I mean, the art Trece Alexandra herself is a heroine that you really would follow. Kasi nga, Buffy. It's like she's like a goth Buffy.
Yeah, in Manila.
In Manila. So Tagalog. Yeah, nakatawa eh. I read all the about the mas maganda yung dub. Mas maganda yung
I see a lot yung mas maganda yung dub. Those yung semantics about calling it anime. It's not anime. It's not based on the manga. It's not
whatever. Hopefully we will see more. I mean, I've seen some of the parang ganun, pero of course none of them are like Trece so far. But there are properties that are interesting. We'll see. I mean, I surprising you mean like properties or like films like for example RPG Metanoia, yung mga ganon. There are gems that
They're gems that get produced.
They're gems. Parang ganun.
Yes.
Hopefully they're more, or at least they.
I think we will have more because of Trice.
Sana. I hope lang at the very least may second season.
Yeah.
Well, nothing has been announced so far.
Announced yet, yes.
Netflix
Hopefully we
kasi,
will get a, mahilig si Netflix mag-cancel.
parang
And
they're like the Borg. Parang ba?
if it doesn't get yung numbers that they want, cancel.
Well, Asia naman. Malakas ang Netflix sa Asia. Not really sure sa US, pero yeah, who knows? At least I've never seen a bad review of it. So, but then again, I haven't looked. I haven't looked that hard. Pero so far, lahat ng mga reactors na nakikita ko talagang tuwa eh. Hey, what's this? Trace say? It's good. Looks cool.
It's something different. So
Something different. Whatever. Dude, yeah.
So yun sir, medyo matagal na yung usapan natin.
Yeah.
One final advice for people who would like to create their own comic books.
Find, parang nga yung sinabi ni Bloodsport, find a partner. Sa kanyang anak, find a partner who covers for you. if you're a budding comic book artist who wants to tell a story, you really want to tell a story, you have so many avenues to do it. Publishing these days is really hard. As mahirap pa kasi nga, if you actually want a paper and ink comic, you either have to have someone who will pay for the book, the paper and the book and everything, and market it and sell it. That's one way. But yeah, I mean, I think today is the best time for that. Because there are more people who want more properties. And then again, there are other avenues. They're online. And right now, the internet is like more prevalent than TV. So if you want to easily reach people, you could do web comics. You could do YouTube as a comic. Kasi animated stories on YouTube, very possible. Just saying that if you want to have a story, if you want to tell a story, tell it. Go for it. And kasi you go for it while you can. Kasi nga, life passes you by. And you tell it when you can, when you have the opportunity. And just do it. Don't do it on if the price is yung tuition ng mga bata.
Don't bet the house on it.
Yeah, don't bet the house on it because you will lose your house. bet the second car. Yun.
If you have a second car,
Yeah, kung may second car ka, yan.
Yung disposable lang talaga. If you have something disposable, you can do.
Tingnan mo ako, may suot pa akong damit. So, I spent my own money on my comics. Buhay pa naman.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Where can your fans find you? Socials niya, sir?
I don't want to.
You don't want to. Why?
No. I mean, if they want to know, kasi I maintain a YouTube channel. It's Mark the Lone Gamer. But it's not comics. It's actually games.
Streaming, sir?
It might be kind of cringy. It's actually gaming role plays. So basically, it's voiced in character commentary. And basically, it's Skyrim or other mga games. So basically, it's voice acting. It's telling a story. And I've been doing it for at least 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh.
So I've never been a big channel, so it's just there are people who watch, so okay naman. And I don't expect people locally to watch it kasi nga it's more for general gamers type. So it's not comics, but yeah, whatever. So yun, I am on Twitter, but yeah, I don't really, I just lurk. I'm not active that much, but I'm around, and I just watch. But I appreciate people who still love Angel Ace and KIA, and hopefully someday may mangyari. Whatever. So yun.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your
Thank
time.
you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, sa viewers. Please do leave a like, share this video to your friends, share this video to anyone who is interested in Filipino comics. Let us support Filipino creators. Let us support Filipino titles. Subscribe to the channel kung gusto nyo. If not, okay lang din. Every 4 p.m. ako nagda-drop ng mga conversations with comics personalities. Yan lang. Stay at home. Stay safe. See you sa mga next videos. Bye, guys.